All right, and we are live. We are live. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Shift. We are trying something very new and interesting. We have a new show called Shift, which stands for Sharing Helpful Insights in Freight Technology. And today I have my good friend who's been me and this guy have been frequenting the same places for the last couple of months. I just ran into him at the Florida Truck Show. We were just at Manifest. Mr. Bryan Jones. What's up, Bryan? How are you?
Hey, Ramel, doing well. How are you doing these days?
I'm doing well, man. Working hard, trying to stay motivated, man.
I feel like the two of us are on the same circuit this year.
We are absolutely. So, we're going to talk about Truckbase, which is your company. You guys are making things simpler for small carriers, owner operators, so forth and so on. So we're going to kind of talk about that. To give the audience a little idea about what you guys do at Truckbase, kind of explain the company and what you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. So we're a back office software for small carriers. So anywhere, if you have just a few trucks, anywhere 5 up to all the way to 50, we want to be your back office automation. So dispatch, scanning, invoicing, settlements, all in one suite built specifically for the small guy. We got started with the idea that, there's software, there's TMSs out there for large fleets. That what you need when you have a couple of trucks is just a whole different ballgame. You need to be easy, it needs to be affordable. You don't want to do data entry. So that's what we do. We kind of automate that whole back office for those small asset-based carriers.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about your background, Bryan, how you got into this space.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I have family in freight brokerage, so I know a little bit about it through that. And then I actually have a background in payroll software. And so those two things came together when I was actually trying to work on some partnerships with trucking companies in the payroll space and was trying to build a solution for these small carriers with just a few trucks and didn't find a great small business software solution for that segment. And so for me, I actually went back to grad school with the intention of, how do I build a business and a product that can service, these small fleets a little bit more specifically. So I actually got my MBA from Stanford and spent my whole time in grad school getting to know and work with 100 different small carriers. So a little bit different of a graduate school experience than some of my peers. And then that ultimately led to what is Truckbase today, figuring out, what do we hear from these small guys? What's the gap in what the current solutions are? And so kind of worked with a few partners, some of whom are now advisors and equity holders in Truckbase in our business, and launched the product out of that.
Got it. What made you want to focus on small carriers as opposed to the larger kind of mega carriers and, of larger size? Why the small carriers? Why was that important to you?
Yes, it's my family. So my parents are small business owners, and the way the business works is my dad kind of did the day-to-day growing up. My mom ran the office and the books, which is basically the same setup for a lot of these small fleets out there. One of the owners is often driving, another owner, often a family member, is doing dispatch and doing invoicing, everything on the office side. That's what I grew up with. And I saw kind of my mom firsthand as a kid working and trying to figure out tools that weren't made for her, weren't priced in a way that made sense for the small fleet. And in my experience building payroll software, I knew there were new ways of building software that you could build tailored solutions for these small family-run businesses. And I just saw my parents every time I started talking to these folks when I was on the payroll side. So those two things kind of came together into, this is basically my family style business, and these are the folks that we want to serve long term.
Got it. And when did you guys officially launch the product?
We launched the product about a year and a half ago. We've been working on it for about 3 years now. So we're still early days, but not brand new off the street, so to speak.
Got it. So what kind of, research or feedback have you guys kind of gotten out there in the marketplace? What is the information you're kind of intaking to build the product out?
Yeah. From day one, we talked to the drivers, we talked to the dispatcher, sometimes who's the owner, and we talked to the owner. And we heard 3 things pretty loud and clear from those different folks. One is that drivers do not want another app on their phone.
Yes.
They're tired of all the broker apps, all the tracking apps, all of that. And so from day one, how do we dispatch? How do we have a mobile scanner for submitting documents without downloading a new app on your phone? That was kind of principle number one that we started with from the driver. From the dispatcher, loud and clear, no data entry. Like the number of times we've heard, I'm entering the same data 5, 6, 7 times into the dispatch, into broker portals, into settlements, into factoring. It was really clear that's what they cared about. And so what we've built into the system is automation and AI-powered document imports. So we build the load for you off of the rate con. So there's no data entry required for the dispatch. And then the last step on the owner side is visibility at a price point that makes sense for my business. And so a lot of these enterprise softwares are complicated and expensive, and we want to eliminate both aspects of this software.
Got it. Can you talk about that in terms of price? How do you guys distinguish yourselves? I mean, obviously there's a huge disparity there. So how much does it cost to use Truckbase?
Yeah, so we start at $145 a month, and that's on an annual contract for up to 5 trucks. And so compared to other softwares that offer similar functionality, we often come in at a fraction. We've heard some folks in the $10,000 to $15,000 range per year for the similar types of functionality that we offer. And so it's just a whole different type of product, different scope and angle compared to some of our competitors out there.
Got it. Tell me about some of the features of the product so everybody understands, everything that Truckbase can do.
Yeah, definitely. If you're up for it, I can actually walk through real time here.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. We get a real time demo.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's go for it.
Show don't tell is the mantra, right?
I like that.
All right, so let me see if I can pull this up here. All right. I know some folks will be listening to this on their phone, so we'll try to voice over as we go. Can you see my screen here?
Not yet. I'm still. Yep. Here we go. Let me add you. Let me add the screen.
Cool.
There we go. Let's get it.
Awesome. So basically, we're the place you see everything in your company in one place, really easy to use. So we're starting with the calendar. You can see all your drivers on the left with their schedules for the week. But the magic here is that data entry piece that I talked about. I know, Ramel, you've probably looked at a lot of different software systems over the years, I can imagine.
I have.
Well, hopefully you haven't spent too much time doing the data entry for them, because that is not a fun job for most folks. So I just went ahead and dropped in a rate con. This is a C.H. Robinson rate con, just as an example here. And so this is going to go and auto build the load for us. So if you're able to see this here, all I did is I literally just dropped in the PDF for the rate con. It pulled the pickup address, it pulled up pickup date, time, delivery address, all of the line haul rate information, the customer here, and the customer reference number. All I have to do is go and I'll just say, I'm going to assign this load to Brian.
Yeah.
Also, I have my pay rate for this driver. This driver gets 20%. And so it calculates the gross pay. And with that, I click import. I'm done. That's all it takes to
what's the accuracy on that, Brian? Is it 100% accuracy? Is there any way to go in back and manually fix anything if there's any mistakes there?
Yes, exactly. It's a really important question. It's why we built it the way we did with that side-by-side view. And so when you go and put it in, you're going to have the PDF of the rate con right there and all of the details there. We don't want to kind of fully automate. This is still kind of human in the loop. This is the dispatcher still involved. We're not kind of getting rid of anyone in the process here. This is how do we make your job easier, because errors there are really, really costly. And so there's still someone involved, but you're not manually entering data. You're just confirming, making sure everything's right. If you need to override anything, that's how that works there. So that's exactly, it's a good question there.
Got it. So the rate con is imported, then you dispatch to the driver. Continue.
Yeah, so I am myself the driver here. So I'll just pull up what I just got on my phone. You might not be able to see it well on the camera here, but I just got a text when I did that saying, this carrier has dispatched you. And I got the pickup information on that load as well as a link to the load. And so there's no app to download. I just click the button and I'm there. I have the full dispatch information. I don't need to remember my login information. I don't have to worry about lost passwords. These are things, again, we heard from drivers when we were getting started. Hey, the apps are an issue. Remembering my login's an issue. All of these things. We want to make it so it's one click and you're there. That's it.
Now, quick question before you continue. Is there any way to filter like the information that goes across when you import it? Like, let's say you don't want the driver to see everything that's on there. How do you do that?
Yeah, really good question. And this is one of the reasons people start to work with us, because you have folks who will just send the full rate con and say, here's the rate con, and go and do it. Some folks just want to put some things on there. So we do have some functionality for what you want to share in settings. By default, we do not share the load rate on the dispatch. You can share the rate con if you want, but it is a setting that we can configure. It's not a default on our side.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Yeah, it's a really good question here, and we get that one a lot, actually. So the main things when we get into the driver side is at the top. Again, I'm not sure if you can see that on my phone here, but you're going to see two buttons. One is to mark as picked up, and the other is to upload the document. Both really important actions you're taking here. That when you mark it as picked up, that can trigger an email to the broker and say, this load's been picked up. It kind of automates that step of the process. I also can just do it manually if I want to on the dispatcher side to trigger that. The thing that people love is I click on the upload document, and that's opening up our mobile scanner built right into the application. So there's a lot of tools out there that offer mobile scanners. You've heard of Cam Scanner, Genius Scan, Drive Axle. There's a bunch of those types of tools out there. The difference for us is you click the link, you're there, you upload the document, and it's automatically sent into the system. So I'll just go ahead and take a quick photo of, my keyboard here or something.
Okay.
And so I just mark this as a bill of lading, and I'll go back to my desktop view here. I'll jump over to these active loads. So this is that load we just dispatched, and there's my BOL on the load. Take about 3 seconds. It's all there now. So with that, I've dispatched, I've scanned in the document, I can mark it as delivered, and now I'm ready to send the invoice.
Nice.
All right. I'll mark that as delivered. And then now I go hit send invoice. You can do it in QuickBooks. You can do it in Truckbase. Again, these are things we heard from small carriers. Some folks want a full-in invoicing system. A lot of folks are on QuickBooks and needs to have seamless integration across the two. Larger fleets have other accounting systems. Often it's much more complex. We want to focus on the small guys, so it's really tight integration with QuickBooks on our side.
Got it. Is there any integration with factoring at all?
So for what we do in our system today is you can have your invoices go to factoring to email inboxes. We actually have some things in the works with some more tight integrations with some factoring partners we're talking to. But that's definitely on the roadmap for us later this year.
Got it. What have been some of the challenges that you face as you've built out this application?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, I mean, given my background, I've kind of had family in freight brokerage. I've been in payroll software, but I've never run a over the road for hire asset-based carrier, right? So kind of really understanding both the trust involved in that and kind of partnering with these small businesses has been a big factor there. And so from the very beginning, understanding that, I haven't spent years and years running a fleet. And I need to be very conscious of that because our partners have. And so understanding where they're coming from and how we build the software has been a core part of that from day one. That is a obstacle at times. It's also an advantage because we hear things like, oh, data entry is terrible. This is the way things are done. And we say, okay, there's probably another way we can do this. And so we kind of take a pretty fresh lens at these things, understanding we need to build trust with our partners and have that, I'll call it humility coming in. But also it gives us an opportunity to start things fresh and do things in a different way.
Got it. How about storage? How much data are you guys able to keep, and where is that information kept?
Really good question. So we don't charge for storage. It's not an extra thing. On each load, there's up to 10 megabytes of data storage per load. It's not something that we run into. So that's not kind of where we make our money, so to speak. It's all based on the actual just usage of the drivers, and that's how we price things.
Okay, got it. And then how about like security? Is that something that you guys kind of touch on, ensure like making sure that the information is secure?
Yeah, really good question again. We do get that a lot. So it's all on US based servers. It's backed up in a few different places across the US. As you're seeing on the screen here, it's all cloud based. And so we have kind of multiple instances of our software in multiple locations in the US. And then in terms of actual security, one thing that we've invested in from day one is just high quality of software and enterprise grade on the back end for us. Our chief technology officer has been building small business software enterprise grade for 20 years. And so given who we serve and kind of how we fit into the business, we're over investing in a lot of those kind of best practices relative to other companies serving kind of the smaller end of the market effectively.
Got it. Let's talk about the business a little bit. Have you guys bootstrapped this product? Have you taken any outside money? How have you funded this endeavor?
Yeah, again, good question here. So we launched the business with a partner. So we are working with a investor that also provides us resources. It's a unique arrangement there. They're actively involved in building the business. They fully invest in and only work with kind of small business in like physical industries. So we're one of the businesses that they work with. They also have invested in the heavy equipment rental software business. So it gives you a sense of the types of businesses that they work in. And we saw the world in the same way when we first met a few years ago. And the idea is there's opportunity to bring kind of, modern technology in a way that services these smaller businesses. And so we've worked with them. They're both a capital partner and an operational partner for us.
Got it. You mentioned this is AI technology, correct?
Yep, we have some AI operating on the back end here.
So what other ways do you see AI impacting the trucking industry? Just from your vantage point, what are you seeing in your space?
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest thing that I see is it's enhancement, not replacement. And you can kind of see it in how we built it out. There's AI to make your job easier, faster, more efficient. The AI in trucking and small business is not a replacement tool, definitely not in the immediate future. We hear that a lot from folks. I mean, I had spent some time in Silicon Valley with my time at Stanford. There's a lot of Silicon Valley folks that talk about that. The best implementations where I see things going is how can you think about the workflows for the small business owner, for the person who needs this tool to make their life more efficient, which is different than how do you kind of eliminate them entirely, because we're just so far from that step. And so the folks that I see it doing really well are the ones that take the business owner, the dispatcher, the broker, sometimes the driver. How do we make your life easier, understanding your workflow, meeting you with what you're doing today, rather than trying to kind of completely rethink the whole system. There are companies that have tried to do that. I think they've really struggled with that, to be honest. I think that step in the process is we have AI on the horizon. It's powerful. The main thing is it needs to meet the person where they're at, and that final mile, so to speak, is so critical. And I think that's how we think about it, is that step in the process is what differentiates great apps from more Silicon Valley hype, so to speak.
Got it. And do you guys have a mobile app?
We do. It's mobile friendly. The whole application. We have access for admins, dispatchers, drivers, everything has that mobile access. What we actually see is that's actually not how most people use it, though.
Okay.
For this reason, people will say, "Hey, do you have mobile?" Like, yeah, we do it. We walk through it, and they start using the text-based approach, and they're like, "Actually, this is better than the mobile app." So the funny thing that people ask about, like, "Oh, do you have a mobile app?" Yeah, we can do it. And then once they get into it, they're like, "Wow, this is actually easier to use via text, actually, because I don't need to download something. I don't have to worry about logging in, like all that other stuff."
Got it. And the customer, your customers are using the text as well, right? How are they able to interface with you guys? How exactly does that work for them to see when the loads are delivered and so forth and so on?
Yeah, definitely. So you'll get updates on the admin and dispatch view. So all of that's in there. And then on the text, that's for mainly for the driver side, right? So the
Okay.
driver, a lot of folks we work with, they're on WhatsApp, they're using text, like that's how they're dispatching and running their business today. The gap that they see is they're entering that data in three places, and they don't have clear visibility and history for that data. And so we basically take that same text and WhatsApp based approach and we attach it to a software system. So we're not changing the flow at all. So that's why folks end up liking that a lot more, because it's what you're used to, but also has some of the value of structured data, reports, automation for sending updates, status updates, all those things. But again, from the driver, it's like sending a text to your dispatcher, which most drivers are doing a lot of today.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. We have a few questions that I'd like to just have you answer really fast, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Rebecca, hey Rebecca, says great presentation. Quick question: do you specify with working with any slash all equipment?
It's a good question. So we work with mainly flatbed, reefer, over the road. We don't do a lot of drayage today. It doesn't make a big difference what type of equipment you're using within that. For us, we're not a load board, right? So we're your back office tool, we do back office automation. So it's not like we have constraints around that. We're overweighted on flatbed because a lot of folks who are doing flatbed want to document, hey, the strap's on correctly, and we make it really easy for documenting the cargo in that dispatch app. So not required. We do see a lot of flatbed in our system.
Got it. And I have a question: how are you guys handling support?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we have email support, we got phone support. We do live onboardings still with everyone on our system. We find that an hour call to get you set up is incredibly valuable, because a couple settings here and there that you can tweak to make it just right for you, that makes you more successful long term, and that's great for us too. And so we do live onboardings. I actually, for all of our partners still today, I give out my direct line. It's not the first line of support, but if something does come up and you're not getting support on as quickly as you need, all of our partners have direct access to me still today.
Got it. And Steve Hunt asks, you scan CH Robinson's rate con. Do all rate cons have to be formatted the same?
Again, great question. So all rate cons are wildly different. They're not all the same. And so this is a big factor for us. So we support all the big players right now. We're adding more and more as we go. We often get asks for, oh, I work with this one broker. They're not a big broker, but I do a lot of work with them. We can add that pretty quickly. The whole system is AI and machine learning based. And so if you give us 5 to 10 examples of a broker you work a lot with, we can add that. So that's kind of how we go about adding support for new brokers over time.
Got it. And then we have another question. No Sprinter van love, man. What's going on with the Sprinter vans?
Sprinter vans. We've gotten more and more of these recently.
Okay.
It's not that we don't love Sprinter vans. It's just not where we started, right? So we're really focused on building the ideal tool for a certain small fleet. When we get into settlements and payroll, which we didn't demo as much, all of our settlements are automated as well for recurring deductions, building off of creating easy to read and understand pay sheets. Some of those things are a little bit different for Sprinter vans for how you're thinking about these different business models. it's not that it's not in the future with us. We do have some folks that reach out about it, but we are built for primarily the regional and over the road asset-based carrier, reefer, flatbed, dry van. That's kind of where we're really focusing our time these days.
Got it. How does someone engage you guys? Tell me about onboarding. What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So we're at truckbase.com. That's our site. You can book a demo with us there. We do live demos to kind of get you set up. And then, like I said, onboarding takes about an hour to set up. We had different milestones after that where we want to say, okay, when have you gotten your first driver in the system? Have you created your first settlement? Have you generated your first invoice? So we want to make sure you're successful every step of the way. What that looks like is demo. Usually we'll get an order form out to do that month or annual plan. And then we'll do that hour-long onboarding. And we have about a month of kind of that we think of because new systems are hard. Like for anyone, changing how you operate on the office side is a lot. So we like to track different milestones to make sure everything is going smoothly. And if things come up, we intervene saying, okay, you're having issues with invoices because there's a certain format that your customer needs. Let's resolve that together. So we kind of have important milestones we think about.
Got it. And talking about milestones, tell me about some of you guys' goals and projections. 2 to 5 year plan. What does Truckbase look like in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So our ambition is to be kind of the back office automation tool for the small fleet. Whether you have 5 trucks or 50, we want to help you get where you want to go. How you do that is you need to first and foremost have trust with drivers. If you don't have that, then you're not going anywhere. We've learned that loud and clear over the last few years. The second is happy customers and trust with your customers. And then the third is operational and capital efficiency for the fleet owner. And so those are the 3 levers that we want to help the small fleet with. Typically, you're going to have 2 or 3 trucks before it starts to make sense to engage with us. But we want to be able to stay with you whether you have 2 or 3, all the way up to 50. And so our ambition is to be the back office automation tool for fleets that are on that journey. You want to be there with them through that.
Got it. And what has been the feedback from your user base so far? What has been some of the things that they're saying? What are the people saying about Truckbase?
Yeah, there's actually one thing I today still do. I check in with our partners every so often, just call them up and check in. One thing I love is just calling our dispatchers that we work with or fleet owners and see how things are going. And so I had one scheduled with our fleet owner, with a fleet owner, and their dispatcher picked up the line. Didn't know who I was at first. And I explained, I'm going to speak with Karina. And it's like, oh, you're the guy from Truckbase, right? And it was like, yeah, that's me. And she's like, I'm using it right now, and I love it. It makes my life so easy. This is I used to spend 3-4 hours a day doing what I do in your system in 20 minutes. And those types of interactions is what I just love it. It makes my day, because who do you know that talks about dispatch, payroll, accounting, invoicing, all of these things, and uses the word love? I've worked in payroll software. People don't love payroll software. And when we hear things like that, that's what that's why I'm here. Is why I'm doing this. Is when I hear this is a 15 truck fleet, for example, that I'm talking about. When their dispatcher describes our product with the term love, that's when I know we're on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. And I like the word that you use, partners. You didn't say users, you say partners.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you guys are partnering to help build businesses and so forth. That's the way you look at it, right?
That's spot on. Like I said from the beginning, we take our approach as technology partners as with humility. Like I said, we have not spent years and years running an over-the-road fleet. Most of our partners have. A lot of our partners have been in the business 20, 30, 40. I've had a couple that have been in this 50 years. And we are best served when we understand our role in that and take their feedback. And they have tons of knowledge and expertise We have some on the software side, and we want to work together to help them succeed.
Got it. Any final thoughts or parting words that you'd like to leave the audience with today about Truckbase, or is just maybe something entrepreneurial or something that you just want to kind of give people and to encourage people in this, in this market, in this economy, everything that we have going on? Just leave us with some parting words.
Yeah. One thing we hear a lot right now is, how freight rates are doing, what's the market looking like, how do I make it through? The thing that we think about, and I think about a lot, is starting with your team. And so making sure you have the team in place and trust with your team to get where you want to go. As an entrepreneur building a business, that's where we start with, those relationships matter. And that's how we like to think about our software as well. Like, how do you build your processes, your business in a way that reinforces trust with teams, with customers, with external vendors and other partners? That trust is really critical. So that's our philosophy with Truckbase, is like, how do we invest in trust? And that's my takeaway through my own entrepreneurial journey, is that's worth more than gold.
I love it. And where will we see you next, man? Since we've been on tour together, I gotta start planning my itinerary. Where are you headed to next?
So next show, we're actually going to be not traveling for a little bit. My wife and I are expecting our first in about a month.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. And so that keeps me off the road for the next couple months. But in end of June, I'll be in Houston. Are you going to be down there for the Texas Trucking Show by chance?
So I will. We are media partners there. We will be at the Houston Truck Show, just like we were in Florida. We'll be in California as well. And Houston, since you mentioned Houston, we have Freight Fest coming up in the fall as well. So September 28th through October 1st, I hope to definitely see you at Freight Fest.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll see you in Houston, and then let's do a Freight Fest after that.
For sure, man. Listen, Bryan Jones, it was great talking to you. Thank you for the transparency. Thank you for demoing the product for the audience. Really cool, man. I urge you guys to go check out Truckbase at truckbase.com. That's spelled TRUCKBASE.com. Correct, Bryan?
That's great.
And follow Bryan Jones on LinkedIn. Check him out, learn more about his business. This has been another episode of Shift, sharing helpful insights in freight technology. We'll be back next Thursday. Take care, you guys. It's a wrap. All right, Bryan. Thank you.
Thanks, Ramel. We appreciate it.